Darkcast Network, bringing our indie podcasts out of the shadows.
Just before we dive into this week's episode, here's a promo.
Well, hello there. I'm Regina King, the Evil Queen.
And I'm Lynn Roskamp, the Docent of Darkness, and we're the hosts of Disturbing Interests.
Do you get excited about mummies, decorate in skulls, obsess over the loss of the Library of Alexandria, even though it was lost in a different age?
Do you kill the conversation with your in-depth serial killer knowledge, facts about items made out of human skin, or have a strange longing to know the softer side of Mothman?
Have you spent an objectively disproportionate amount of time studying the life of H.H. Holmes?
Oh, I wouldn't know anybody like that. No, certainly not.
Well, I mean, we did call our podcast Disturbing Interest for a reason.
That's right, we've got them, and we are doing you the favor of keeping the questions like, at what temperature does it take to destroy a cadaver out of your browsing history?
Well, we hope.
Because with us, you might be disturbed.
But you're not alone. You can find us on any podcasting platform under Disturbing Interest, or check us out online at disturbinginterest.com.
Hello and welcome to CrimeDivers. I'm Laura.
And I'm Jill.
And welcome to today's episode.
Hello everybody, welcome to today's Laura-sode.
Yep, we're here for a Laura-sode.
So before we start, I'll just let everybody know that she's not feeling very well today.
No, I'm a bit bunged up.
Yeah, she's a bit bunged up, so just letting you know, just you might hear a little sniffle or, you know, her voice might sound a little bit different, so I have to be nice to her today.
Yes, I'm trying my best to...
Yes.
Hopefully I'll be alright, but...
She was warned on I just did an episode because obviously we record a couple at a time, and I just did my episode and she was warned that she wasn't allowed to sniffle.
I know.
And she did really well, but I think it's made her worse because she's kept it in.
I've kept it in. I've not sniffed, so I'll be alright.
Okay, so where in the world are we?
We're in the USA.
Okay, and what is the name of your episode?
Murderer on the Loose.
Oh, okay. So do you want to dive in?
Let's dive in. So this case takes us to the scenic city of Bend, which I've never heard of before.
Bend?
Yeah, Bend as in like
As in
Bend.
round the bend?
Yeah, that's
right.
what it's called. It sits on the Deschutes River in Oregon, USA.
Okay.
So it was home to 23-year-old... Start again, sorry. It was home to 23-year-old Kaylee Sawyer. She lived there with her husband... Nope, she lived there with her husband at all. She lived there with her boyfriend of 2 years, Cameron.
Okay.
Kaylee worked as a dental assistant and she was also busy studying at Central Oregon Community College. She was very creative and enjoyed photography, drawing and writing poetry. So where she actually lived was very good for that because it was so scenic that you know, taking pictures and stuff, it was just such a beautiful place to take some good pictures. So she was also very sporty. She loved snowboarding, golfing, fishing and wakeboarding and many other outdoor activities. So
What's wakeboarding? Do you not know?
I thought it was just like something on like
a board.
Yeah. I don't actually know.
It's something on a board.
And like when you go into war, isn't it?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking you.
I don't know.
Oh well, I'll Google it after.
Yeah. Or
and if anybody else doesn't know, you'll have to Google it yourselves because we're not doing it for you.
No, I just thought nobody would ask that, so I didn't think to actually check it out. I just thought I've heard of it, but I don't think I'd have to explain it. So
sorry,
I don't actually know. So I was maybe I'm gonna have to find out now. I don't even know where my phone is, so we're not finding out. Anyway, back to the case. So her parents had divorced. You're googling that now.
I was trying to do it without you noticing. I just realised I'm sitting here with the laptop right in front of me. So
right, we're gonna have to pause for a second because we now need to know what wakeboarding is.
Wakeboarding. Okay, so wakeboarding is a water sport.
Well, I forgot that. I knew it was a water sport.
In which the rider, standing on a wakeboard, which is a board with foot bindings, is towed behind a motorboat across its wake.
Oh.
And especially up off the crest, in order to perform aerial manoeuvres.
Right.
So it sounds like jet skiing, but you're on a board. Like, so you're getting pulled along by a boat.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah, I'm still really none the wiser, to be honest.
Okay, right. Anyway. Now that we've discovered that, we can get back to the case. So, her parents had divorced and they had both remarried when she was young, but she had a great relationship with both of them as well as her step-parents.
Right.
So they were still, happy family. She was also close to her 4 brothers. And friends and family said that she was one of the happiest people that they knew. She was giving, she was popular, she was always smiling, and she was always entertaining people. She was often out socialising, and her mother said that, everyone was a friend to Kaylee, even if they were like a stranger. She just treated everybody like a friend. Right. So she sounded like a very nice girl.
Yeah.
So on the evening of the 23rd of July 2016, Kaylee had plans to celebrate a friend's bachelorette party. She got ready and left her home to go and meet everyone in downtown Bend, which was close to her college campus. So she had parked her car. She drove her car down, to park her car at a friend's house, and then they all headed out for the evening. So over the next couple of hours, Kaylee and her friends moved around various bars. Everybody was in good spirits. The drinks were flowing, and everyone was singing and dancing, and just enjoying the celebration.
Yeah,
so just
sounds good.
like a really good night out. At one point, Kaylee started dancing with a man at a bar because she wasn't out with Cameron, like he wasn't out.
Right.
So like I said, it was a girls' night out. So at one point, she just started dancing with a man at the bar. And I'm sure it was just an innocent dance because I remember in years when I was out, you'd be standing at the bar and sometimes while you're waiting to be served, you might be having a little boogie to the music and there's somebody there.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, exactly, just an innocent probably dance. But one of Cameron's friends happened to be there, and he saw them dancing, so of course he texted Cameron to tell him. Right. And I'm like, why did he have to do that though?
None of your business.
Well, I know you want to look out for your friends and stuff, but I just thought if she's just innocently dancing, they're at, it's in a bar, these things probably happen and there's nothing to it, more to it.
I would say, we don't know what it looked like.
No,
if they were dancing like maybe really close to each other or something like that, but if it was just I don't know, because you can't really say because you don't know what it looked like to him. Because if I saw one of my one of my
friends' boyfriends,
aye,
dancing with another girl.
Yeah, it would depend how they looked. If they just looked like just having fun, blah blah blah, I wouldn't think anything of it. But if they maybe looked a bit too close, I'd be like, that's.
I suppose it's about how people perceive that. I guess.
Exactly, yeah.
You're right, but I don't know whether maybe he had overreacted too quickly to text Cameron.
He might have.
I don't know. Obviously, like you say, we weren't there, so I don't know what the exact situation is. But I just thought, was it necessary maybe to be texting him straight away?
Yeah.
I don't know. So anyway, it was just after midnight. So we were now on the 24th of July in the early hours, and the night was coming to an end, and everyone, they'd had a lot to drink. So Kaylee, she'd called Cameron to ask him to pick her up.
Right.
And while she was waiting for Cameron to come, she did actually text Cameron's friend to say sorry for dancing with the guy at the bar and how the situation might have looked. So
right.
She obviously, I'm assuming she must have been aware that his friend had seen her. I'm sure she wasn't maybe aware that he texted Cameron, I don't know. But she
spoke to Cameron though, so Cameron might have told her.
True, so she obviously felt bad enough that she's texted the friend to say I'm sorry for how that might have looked. So maybe it did look a bit more than it should have, I don't know. So a short while later, Cameron arrived and picked Kaylee up, but they did actually end up arguing straight away, which carried on all the way home. Cameron parked the car up outside their apartment complex, and then Cameron just stormed out the car as the argument had got quite a bit heated, so it must have been they must have been shouting and screaming at each other, and he was just like, right, I'm just getting out of the car.
Yeah.
Stormed off. But Kaylee said that she needed she just wanted to stay in the car for a minute because she was crying and she needed some space to calm down.
Yeah.
So she just says, I'm staying here just now. So 10 minutes later, Cameron must have calmed himself down a bit, and he decided, Kaylee's not come in yet, so I'm going to go back down and obviously get her to come in. So he went down to coax her out the car. You know, he just wanted them to go to bed and everything, like, to be fine in the morning. So he got to the car, and that's when he saw that the passenger door was wide open and Kaylee was no longer in the car.
Oh.
She was nowhere to be seen. So, of course, you know, Cameron started to look around for her. He sent her several texts saying, like, where are you? Please just come home. You know, I don't want to play this game. I'm going to start searching for you, but please help me out.
Yeah.
So Kaylee did actually reply.
Right.
She replied saying, oh, my phone's about to die. So Cameron replied saying, please don't do this to me. I apologise for being upset when I picked you up. I've just drove up and down College Way, because that must be in the street, College Way. Really slow. I didn't see you. I don't know where else to go. Like, just come back. And then Kaylee said, are you kidding? Because that's bullshit. Goodbye. So I'm not sure if she meant, like, are you kidding about apologising and being upset, or are you kidding that you just drove up and down College Way? But
and was that definitely her that was texting?
Yeah, definitely
right.
her, yeah. So she's, yeah, are you kidding? Because that's bullshit. Goodbye. That's what she said.
Okay.
So after that, it looks like she turned off her phone and stopped responding. So Cameron went to a friend's house hoping that she just walked there, but she hadn't. He drove up and down the streets looking for her, but without any success, like, nowhere to be seen. So Cameron, he must have got in touch with Kaylee's mother and friends, as they were all trying to get in touch with her as well. But she wasn't responding to anyone, clearly, because she turned her phone off. So everyone was just hoping that she had went to someone's house to cool off, but it was seeming less and less likely the more time that passed. So, of course, soon they decided to call the police.
Right.
So this is Cameron's call to the police.
Right.
The dialogue, obviously. I'm not going to say too much about what the operator responds, because that's annoying. So this is just like...
That's annoying, okay.
Well, this is just basically what he said. So quote, hi, I'm not sure if this is the right number to call. Which, I mean...
What, he called... Did he call 911?
Yeah, I don't know if he maybe didn't think he was... It sounded like
maybe you're not supposed... Maybe he thought...
Is it too soon to be phoning the police? Or he wasn't
like,
sure
because it's the emergency line.
Yeah, so he wasn't sure. I think that's what he meant. Last night, I got home from the bar with my girlfriend and she got upset at me and ran off. And I chased her and wasn't able to find her. And I still haven't heard from her. Her phone's off. I called all her family and they haven't heard from her. So I'm wondering, what do you recommend I do? So... I mean, the operator, obviously, I didn't specifically say, but the operator did say, well, what we'll do is we'll put in a call, we'll send officers and deputies to look for her, and then the operator asks him where she was last seen. So he explained, obviously, what happened in the car, you know, like what happened after getting in the car, etc. You know, like about, like, he went up to cool off, you know, she'd stayed in the car, and then, you know, he came back down, she wasn't there. So he seemed quite calm on the phone, you know, he wasn't getting too irate about it. So the operator obviously gets as much information as she can from him, and she ends the call saying an officer will get in contact with you. So Kaylee's mum also phoned the police to report her daughter missing, which I thought Cameron was maybe they didn't communicate that he was going to phone the police, but she's obviously phoned the police as well. And she mentions to the operator that Kaylee actually has epilepsy and other medical issues. So the operator says that the officer dealing with her boyfriend will be in touch with her as well. So the operator must have communicated to her, yep, the boyfriend's already been on the phone.
Yeah.
Obviously there's going to be an officer dealing with him, so we'll make sure that officer speaks to you as well, so that, everything, you both know what's going on. So of course at this point, Kaylee's name began circulating on social media, and the word was spreading that she was missing. So hundreds of volunteers came out to help look for her. Cameron obviously was interviewed straight away, but detectives had no reason to be concerned about him or anything he said, so he was very quickly ruled out.
Right.
So the friends she had been out with, they were also questioned, but they couldn't help much either. But their attention then turned to the man that she was seen dancing with at the bar. It was hoped that he might be able to give the police a lead, but he was just as shocked, as everybody else that she was missing. He'd only danced with her for a few minutes before she rejoined her group of friends and then left. So he was like, well, I can't help you.
Nothing in that,
No, nothing in that. He hadn't seen her after that. So there was a news report on her disappearance that I saw. So obviously it made the headlines, in the news. And her mother was interviewed. She was just desperate to find her daughter. She was just like, I just want to find her. So of course everyone was very concerned, but Kaylee's mother was far more than that. She said that the second that she heard her daughter was missing, she just felt a shift in her whole body, and something was telling her that Kaylee was no longer alive. It must be like a mother's instinct, maybe.
Yeah.
But she just felt like she didn't think that she was alive. So it was now Monday morning, and Kaylee obviously didn't show up for her shift at the dental clinic, so police knew that they had to pick up the pace because they thought, they felt that Kaylee was becoming an endangered missing person now, so she wasn't just a missing person.
Yeah.
They thought, something must have maybe happened to her, she's maybe come to some harm, whatever, so they thought, right, well, we need to really, try and quicken up the pace and figure out what's happened to her. So a new officer called Isabel, so she was like a new police officer to the job.
She wasn't.
So sorry, yeah, I just realised I need to explain that she wasn't so she was new to the job, so she wasn't just a new one on the case.
That's what I thought you meant. I knew on the case.
She was like a rookie kind of police officer who was new to the job. Called Isabel. She actually reported something to her colleagues that would blow the whole case wide open.
Oh.
So she told them that her husband had been acting very strangely in the last couple of days, and he had said some very concerning things. So her husband was 31-year-old Edwin Lara, and Isabel said that his odd behaviour had been apparent since he came home very late on Sunday after his shift had finished. He did often work long and late hours as a college campus security guard.
Oh.
So you actually see her, obviously, because she obviously was actually in a police interview room telling her colleagues about it, so there's actually footage of her being interviewed. So you see her in an interview room getting asked about his working hours, and obviously there must be religious people, because she said that they had been going to go to church that morning and he was very quiet on the way to church. You could see her, she was obviously visibly upset, telling the police officers, because all it is, that's her husband, of course.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my god, I think something's wrong here. So she was obviously very upset. She said obviously she'd asked her husband what was wrong, and when they got out of church, she just knew something wasn't right with him. She could just tell. They had been having problems, so she didn't really push him, and just assumed that he was just being off with her at that point.
Right.
So they actually went to they just carried on with their day, really. They went to watch a film at the cinema, just carried on like normal. But it was next morning, he came out of the room, I'm assuming it must be the bedroom, because it didn't said the room, and he was all teary-eyed and asked, and she asked him to tell her, what's wrong? What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
So he sat on the sofa and he said, I've killed a woman.
Imagine your husband telling you that.
I know. That must be quite
horrendous.
Yeah.
I don't think if my husband was, I don't think I'd believe him. Because I just don't think that he'd be capable of doing something like that.
I know. So obviously, back to obviously an interview, because this is the problem with the footage that I've seen. It's quite bitty, so it's
just bits and pieces.
Yeah,
of
there's
it.
a bit of it, and then you can see that it's sort of skipped a bit, and then she says something else. So if I'm not making a full sense, it's just because it's quite bitty of what I've saw.
Yeah.
So obviously back. So you're back basically with her in the interview, and Isabel is saying, he's knocked her. He's obviously said to her, he's knocked her over. But he says he's panicked. She's asked him, what have you done with the body? And then Edwin must have told her that some of the women's things are hidden in their shed.
So he's saying that he knocked her over with the car?
Yeah, so basically that's what she's saying is he's told me that he's knocked her over, but he's panicked. So he's obviously moved her body, but for some reason he's got some of her things in his shed. So it's well, if you've knocked her over, you panicked, but you've got some of her stuff in her shed. To me, that's not adding up.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of a bit confused there.
Yeah, but like I say, because it's just bits of this sort of interview, it's not flowing properly.
Yeah,
so I'm kind of getting parts of it. So apparently he's then her husband, Edwin. I was going to say
I was going to say you forgot his name.
Forgot what his name is there. Edwin. He's fled the house armed with Isabel's gun, because obviously she's a police officer. Although I don't know if it's just a personal gun or a police officer gun, I'm not sure. But he's fled armed with Isabel's gun.
Right.
So officers, of course, went straight to their house, where they found Kaylee's purse and ID, her shoes, a blood-stained rock, and a clump of what looked like could be Kaylee's hair.
A rock?
Yeah.
You'll find out okay.
So what they found pointed to far more than accidentally hitting her with his car and panicking. Because obviously, I think originally they didn't know it was Kaylee, obviously. But I think when they've come to the house and they found obviously Kaylee's ID, that's when they've known it's obviously Kaylee, because they've found her ID. So obviously at points more than just accidentally hitting her with his car and panicking, and it was pointing towards more of being a violent homicide. So by this point, Edwin was already on the run on what would become an interstate crime spree. So he had left his car at his parents' house, and he had spotted a 19-year-old girl called Andrea sitting in her car in a parking lot. She had just clocked off a 12-hour shift and was about to head home when Edwin opened the passenger door, pointed a gun at her, and demanded that she started driving.
My God, that'd be terrifying.
I know. I wouldn't like that to happen to me. Like, I'm always like, keep the car locked. So he started driving. So as she drove, he showed her pictures of him in his campus security uniform and spoke to her about the news reports talking about Kaylee. So I don't know if it's just he was just making conversation or he was trying to like kind of scare her a bit. Maybe I'm not really sure what he was doing there, but he was obviously telling her about that. So after about 3 hours on the road, Edwin wanted to stop at a motel for the night. So as he checked in, he made Andrea pretend to be his girlfriend, and once inside the room, he handcuffed her to the bathroom door while he showered, and he then ordered her to take a shower in front of him.
Oh, God.
But Andrea was totally fighting against him every step of the way, and she point blank refused. So she didn't take a shower in front of him. And after this, he handcuffed her to the bed and told her to take sleeping pills. But at this moment, actually her alarm on her phone started going off.
Right.
And totally thinking on her feet, Andrea actually lied. I don't actually know why her alarm had been set. I'm not sure why it actually went off, but she decided to lie about why it was going off. And she told Edwin that it was it went off because she had an STD. So a sexually transmitted disease, and the alarm was to remind her to take her medication.
Good thinking.
Because obviously she hoped that would put him off trying to sexually assault her, because I don't know if he was intending to do that, but she was like, just in case,
yeah.
Like she just totally had a moment like, right, I'll tell him that, and that hopefully will put him
good
off.
thinking.
So her plan worked. So obviously he didn't sexually assault her. But Edwin was becoming more and more paranoid by the minute, so he decided to leave. They decided that he wanted them to leave the motel, at 1:30 in the morning. So they left at 1:30, and they carried on driving until 5 a.m. and then they stopped at another motel. And when they got to this motel, Edwin walked over to a 73-year-old man who was standing near his vehicle, and he tried to take the vehicle off the 73-year-old man, but clearly he must have put up a fight, so he shot the 73-year-old man in the stomach.
Oh.
He obviously didn't get the car, and thankfully the man did survive, so he didn't kill him. He did survive. But Edwin then fled with Andrea on foot to a nearby gas station where he carjacked a 76-year-old woman. She was in the car with her 2 teen grandsons. So he actually when I say carjacked, he actually forced them into the car as well. So he forced one of the teenagers to drive at gunpoint. But then he did actually let them go. He must have got them to drive for a certain amount of time, and then he booted them out of the car.
Right.
And him and Andrea were still, because Andrea was still here.
Right.
So him and Andrea still carried on.
That poor lassie. In
the car, I know. It's totally just, it's been made to get along in this, totally innocent party, and she's all, a man on the run. So Edwin ordered Andrea to start driving to California, and that's where he had family. And during the drive, he actually used Andrea's phone to record himself. So I've actually seen recording of him. So he's obviously got it as a selfie way, and he's recording himself. So he said, "Hi everybody, I just want to say that I apologise for everything I've done. I'm going to get a car, and sorry about that girl in Central Oregon, and I want to let family members know Andrea's fine." The camera pans to her, so he actually just shows the camera to show that she's fine. Poor thing. And she will be fine. I'm not going to do anything to her. She will be fine. He says he regrets killing the other girl, but she kept screaming. So that was the end of the video. So he actually made Andrea post it to her Facebook, titling it "Murderer on the Loose."
Okay.
Edwin then called his family to tell them what was going on, and then at 6:40 a.m. he actually called 911, telling them who he was and what he was wanted for.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually very cooperative on the phone, saying that he was going to pull over for the police. Please not to shoot him. Don't shoot me. I'm going to cooperate. I'm going to pull over. So obviously the police must have dispatched this because there's like there's a police following, a car following him. But before he was pulled over and eventually arrested, he recorded himself again, saying that he wanted to say to the family of Kaylee that he was sorry for what he did, and in time he would tell them where the body was. So the car's pulled over, but Andrea was actually initially arrested as well, because obviously I don't think they quite realised that she was innocent at this point.
Right, yeah.
But they obviously, I mean, they must have found out quickly that she was innocent, because she was released like pretty quick after being arrested.
Good.
I know.
She's been through enough.
I know, that's it. That's saying, thank God, like they realised that she wasn't just an innocent party in it, and thank God she was unharmed as well. I mean,
yeah, of course.
I mean, obviously it would have been an ordeal for her, but she wasn't like physically harmed or anything like that. It would have just been
that's
like,
good.
Mentally, obviously, just through a bit of
it'd be a lot to go through.
So
but...
I mean, he didn't do anything horrible to her or anything like that, which was obviously something. So obviously, they'd arrested him and he was interviewed. So in the interview, he told police that he had accidentally hit Kaylee with his car, but then he strangled her when she wouldn't stop screaming. Which you probably which is agree is something which everyone agreed made no sense at all.
No.
Like, why would you knock someone over by accident but strangle them? Because obviously they're going to be screaming if they were knocked over because they're probably in pain.
That's the time when you phone 911 to get an ambulance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He explains how he didn't hit her that hard. She was really drunk. She looked at me and started screaming, so I panicked and I grabbed her and pretty much ripped everything off her like a pillow, so like her clothes and stuff. He then threw her in a ditch, and he went back home apparently, and he thought like, okay, they're probably going to find her pretty quick, so he decided that he better put her somewhere else. So obviously he went back to her, but that is what he said.
Yeah, right, okay.
But after a while, the real truth came out, because
right.
I think you could probably imagine that just sounds like a lot of nonsense.
Yeah, totally.
And it is a lot of nonsense, because obviously, that's not the truth. So what actually did happen was, Kaylee had indeed left Cameron's car,
right,
like we know, and walked off.
See, that's what I was wondering, because like because you said that the car door was open, I thought she'd been grabbed out of the car, and then that's why I was asking if it really was her that was texting, because I thought maybe somebody else had her phone.
But no, she had left. She'd obviously just not bothered to shut the car.
Yeah, why?
I'm not sure, but she had left Cameron's car and walked off. So Edwin had saw her walking and started following her in his patrol car, because bear in mind he's a security guy for the campus, the college campus. So somehow Kaylee ended up in the car. I'm not really sure how. We don't know how she ended up in the car, but police and Kaylee's family believed that he probably offered her a lift, and Kaylee had accepted as she thought that she would be safe with a security guard in a patrol car, because apparently students would often get lifts from the campus security, so it wasn't an unusual thing.
Yeah, so she'll have felt safe then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's obviously clocked off his shift. Like I'm saying, he's in his uniform, he's in his patrol car, so, she probably thought, oh yeah, well, fair enough, why not? And of course, maybe she wouldn't have thought about, but she would have been trapped in the back of Edwin's car, because I don't know if like police cars, or you can't get out, the locks are be on. You'd have to let it out. So apparently Edwin had demanded sex from her. She had refused, so he strangled her until she was unconscious. He drove several miles away, and she was again strangled and hit over the head with a rock. Hence the rock that they found.
Yeah, I kind of gathered that was
and
involved.
Then he raped her.
Oh.
But she was still alive at this point.
Right.
So Edwin grabbed another rock and hit her again in the head and left her there. And he had no idea, obviously, whether she was still alive at that point. So he then drove back to the campus, where he changed cars, and he drove back in an attempt to conceal her body. So that's what he did. He did go away and leave her, not even knowing that she was dead at this point, changed car, and then drove back to where the body was, and then obviously moved her. So police located the first car that he had driven when he went on the run. So not obviously the patrol cars, but this is the car that he'd taken from his own house and he'd left at his parents' house. They located that. And they actually found handwritten notes, one of which read, "The place I killed her is on the B12 lot. Run over... The place I killed her is on the B12 lot. Run her over on College Way," and then he found another note which said, "I'm sorry for taking her life. It was," and then It was after this that... Oh, sorry. I've totally confused myself. Sorry. Apologies. I've just... I don't even know what I'm writing. Yeah. I'll start that again so it makes sense. Right. So they found the handwritten notes, one of which read, "I killed her on the B12 lot. I ran her over on College Way," which is obviously the road that she was on. And then there was another note which said, "I'm sorry for taking her life." So it was after that, near a canyon off a highway of 126, that the body of Kaylee Sawyer was found. So despite his confession, Edwin pleaded not guilty. The prosecution announced that they would be seeking the death penalty during a pre-trial hearing. Apparently a judge threw out his lengthy confession and said that it could not be used as evidence, which, I mean, to me, I'm like, how? Why can't it be used as evidence? If he confessed, why can that not be used as evidence?
Because they didn't believe him?
Well, maybe.
I don't know.
But so the prosecution now had to hope that forensic evidence would be enough. So Edwin's defence lawyer said his crime spree was an enigma and could only be explained by his client's genetic, degenerative, cognitive brain disability.
Well done.
That was a mouthful. He then pleaded guilty, so he must have changed his mind, and pleaded guilty to aggravated murder, which meant he would avoid the death penalty, but there was no sexual assault charge. So Edwin Lara was sentenced to life without parole, and he received a second life sentence for the kidnap of Andrea, which I thought was quite good, actually, because
that's a lot.
That's a lot for just a kidnap.
Yeah. But good.
Yeah. He did actually address the court himself, asking for forgiveness. So he obviously was remorseful about it. And Isabel, the police officer, she actually filed for divorce. And
I don't blame her.
Yeah, and she resigned from her position as a police officer as well, which I thought was quite sad, but I think it must have traumatised her that much that she obviously, I don't know, she just didn't want to continue being a police officer, so she did actually resign. And Kaylee's family actually filed a lawsuit against the college for failing to do proper background checks, and also that the patrol cars were too similar to police cars, and the uniform was similar as well. So, like, I've seen a picture of it. The patrol cars do actually look like police cars.
Right.
And their uniform does look like a police officer's uniform. And, I mean, at the end of the day, I say only, but he's only a security guard on a campus, so really he shouldn't probably look like police.
No.
And he shouldn't drive around with police-looking cars.
No, I get that.
So the family actually settled they made a settlement of $2 million.
Wow.
For that, which I thought was...
That's a lot.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then there was a law called Kaylee's Law, which was passed in 2019, and that requires campus security and vehicles to be clearly distinguishable from law enforcement, and they weren't allowed rooftop lights like a police car does, and they weren't allowed a cage, like in the back how they have the sort of cage, and they weren't allowed that either. And they must also have GPS and interior video camera that records whenever someone gets in.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Fair enough. So, yeah, so I don't think there was any real reason, why he killed her, apart from the fact that obviously he wanted sex that night and
she refused.
And that was why she lost her life, basically.
That's awful.
Yeah.
It's just poor her, obviously her family and everything, but I do feel sorry for his wife as well.
Well, no, because I mean, when it says I don't know how new she was to the police service. Obviously, it just said she was a new police officer, so she obviously hadn't been in the job that long, and that was her career. Like, she obviously felt like she couldn't carry on with her career. I mean, I'm sure she would have been allowed to, because at the end of the day, she'd done nothing wrong, and she absolutely did the right thing when her husband confessed. I mean, she actually went straight to the police. Yeah. And she sat and told them everything that she knew, and it obviously helped. Well, it helped find Edwin at the end of the day. I mean, obviously he did phone the police himself, of course, but she gave him some, really useful information. But it's a shame that she lost her husband as well, because she obviously divorced him. I mean, she must have thought that. But then, I mean, I know they were having problems beforehand, but still.
Yeah, but she wouldn't have been expecting that, would she? And and same with her boyfriend, but Cameron, as well, because if they hadn't been arguing,
because I mean, he might have been feeling guilty, and then I mean, of course, the friend was not to blame in this at all with the text message, but I thought, if you hadn't texted Cameron about it...
If they hadn't done this, if they hadn't done that...
They wouldn't have stormed off.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, obviously Kaylee, I mean, I don't know what, the thing is, I don't know why she decided to storm off either. I mean, obviously, you know, Cameron had went back to the complex. She'd obviously want to stay in the car to calm down, so I don't know why.
Why did she leave the car?
Yeah, like, why did she feel like she was, where was she going? Like, what was she thinking? Like, why didn't she just stay and calm down and go back up as well? I mean,
maybe she wanted just to have a walk, you know, get some fresh air if she was drunk. Exactly. She wanted to clear her head, get some fresh air.
I think that's it. When you're drunk, sometimes you're not thinking clearly as well, aren't you? You know, being drunk and, you know, cloud your judgment as well, of course. So
it's upsetting falling out with your boyfriend.
Oh, yeah, totally.
I've done it. I like when I've been drunk, just had an argument or whatever, and then just went for a walk just to kind of.
Well, I remember doing it with Justin. We were up in town in Edinburgh one night for a night out, and we'd started off the night together, but then I went to meet other friends, and he'd stay with whoever he out with, and then I remember I'm saying. I think he just sent me like a really off text message, and I was like, you know what, you've ruined my night now, like I'm just going to go home. And I started walking home, because obviously we lived close enough that I could just walk.
Yeah.
And then I remember seeing him in the distance, and I was like raging at him, so I obviously caught up with him, and like we had a big massive argument, and then he went off back to our flat, and I remember just like sitting in the middle of a car park, just like really pissed off and drunk, and like, sat there for a good half an hour before I decided to go home. And you're right, I mean, I was in a vulnerable position at that point. Yeah. Anything could have happened.
Exactly.
It didn't, but
it's easily done, and and it's these predators that...
Well, yeah, this guy's just seen an opportunity when he's seen this girl walking along the street, and because he's obviously been in his uniform, he's in his car, let's say she's probably thought, oh, it's just somebody from the... I mean, she might have even known him, because I don't know if they knew each other, because she was at the campus studying.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they actually knew each other or not, or she would have been aware of him or whatever. So she probably thought, oh, this is maybe somebody I know, or the fact that he's in a uniform, it's something safe, you know what? Maybe I do need a lift, I want to go to my friend's house or something to cool off for the night or whatever. And
he just took full advantage of that.
Exactly.
So, absolutely awful. That poor girl and her poor family.
I know, absolutely senseless murder.
As they all are. Thank you to everybody for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
If you'd like to get in contact with us or follow us on our social media, we are on Instagram and Twitter at crime_divers_pod. You can email us at crime_divers_pod@outlook.com. We're on YouTube, and that's Crime Divers Podcast, and TikTok is also Crime Divers Podcast. If you would like to financially support the show, you could go to www.buymeacoffee.com/crimedivers and make a one-off donation. Our Patreon is patreon.com/crimedivers. We have 3 tiers, which is £1, £3 or £5, and you get bonus episodes, early access to episodes, and ad-free episodes.
And if you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe, rate and review.